Captain Lee Daeho stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the stars move past the window. The Hanbok's Pride was one of humanity's finest exploration ships. It had been flying through space for 2 weeks now, looking for new planets that humans could live on. Lee had been doing this job for 15 years. He loved the quiet of space and the hope of finding something new. His crew was small but good. There was Dr. Park Mi-young, who studied alien life forms. She was smart and kind, always excited when they found something interesting. There was also engineer Shin Woo-seok, who kept their ship running perfectly. The rest of the crew were young but trained well. Humans had been part of the Galactic Confederation for 300 years now. They were known as peaceful people who helped solve problems between different alien species. When wars started, humans would come and talk to both sides until they stopped fighting. When diseases spread, humans would share their medicine. When planets needed to be made livable, humans would send their terraforming teams. The galaxy called them many things, but the most common name was sleeping dragons. This name came from an old Earth story about powerful dragons that slept for hundreds of years. The aliens thought it was funny because humans seemed so calm and peaceful. They never started fights. They never took things that belonged to others. They just helped and shared and tried to make everyone happy. Dr. Park Mi-young was in her lab when the first message came. She was looking at samples from their last planet visit when the ship's communication system made a loud beeping sound. She ran to the bridge where Captain Lee was already listening to the message. The voice was shaky and full of fear. "This is New Busan Colony. We are under attack. Unknown ships. They came from nowhere. Massive fleet. They're not taking prisoners. They're killing everyone. Please help us." The message cut off into static. Captain Lee tried to call back, but there was no answer. His face went pale. New Busan was home to almost 1 million humans. It was a beautiful world with green forests and blue oceans. Families lived there. Children played in the parks. Now something terrible was happening. "Sir," said the communication officer, "we're getting more messages." 2 more distress calls came in. Terra Nova Colony was under attack. So was Harmony Station. In total, over 2 million humans lived on those worlds. The messages were all the same. Unknown ships. Massive attacks. No mercy. Captain Lee ordered his ship to change course toward New Busan. It would take them 6 hours to get there. During those 6 hours, they heard nothing more from any of the colonies. The silence was worse than the screaming. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Choi Byung-soo was in his office when the terrible news reached him. He was an old man who had spent his whole life keeping humans safe. His hair was gray and his hands shook a little, but his mind was still sharp. When he heard about the attacks, he sat very still for a long time. Admiral Choi called an emergency meeting. All the important human leaders came. They met in a secret room deep under the ground. The room had thick walls and no windows. Maps of human space covered the walls. "Who did this?" asked General Kim Tae-jin. He was the head of human special operations, though most people didn't know such a thing existed. "The Vorthak Empire," said the intelligence officer. "Our spy satellites caught their ship designs. It was a coordinated attack. They hit all 3 colonies at exactly the same time. The Vorthak were known as warriors. They had been expanding their territory for years, taking over weak planets and making slaves of the people who lived there. But they had never attacked humans before. Humans were part of the Galactic Confederation. Attacking them was supposed to bring punishment from all the other species. Dr. Park Mi-young spoke to the Galactic Confederation Assembly 3 days later. She stood in front of thousands of alien representatives. Her sister had lived on New Busan with her 2 children. They were all dead now. "For 300 years, she said, her voice steady but her eyes full of tears. "Humanity has been your friend. We have helped you solve your problems. We have shared our knowledge. We have never asked for anything except peace." The alien representatives listened. Some looked sad, others looked worried. A few looked like they didn't care at all. "The Vorthak Empire has killed 2.3 million human civilians," Dr. Park continued. "They destroyed our colonies. They murdered our children. And what does this assembly offer us? Words, discussions, empty promises of diplomatic solutions." She paused and looked around the great hall. When she spoke again, her voice was different. Colder. Harder. "You have mistaken our kindness for weakness. You have mistaken our desire for peace as inability to fight. You call us sleeping dragons and you think it's funny. You think we are weak little creatures who can only talk and heal and help?" The hall was completely quiet now. Even the aliens who didn't care were paying attention. "But you have forgotten something important about dragons," Dr. Park said. "They don't sleep because they are weak. They sleep because they choose to sleep. And when someone hurts what they love," she paused again. "The dragons wake up." Captain Lee's ship reached New Busan 12 hours after the attack ended. What they found made the strongest crew members cry. The cities were burning. The farms were destroyed. Bodies lay everywhere. The attackers had not just conquered the planet. They had tried to wipe out every sign that humans had ever lived there. Lee walked through the ruins of the capital city with Dr. Park. They found her sister's house. It was just a pile of broken stone now. In the garden, they found a child's toy buried under the rubble. Dr. Park picked it up and held it close to her chest. "They wanted to test us," she said quietly. "The Vorthak wanted to see what the peaceful humans would do when pushed." Captain Lee nodded. He had been thinking the same thing. "What will we do?" Dr. Park looked at the toy in her hands, then at the destroyed city around them. "We're going to show them what sleeping dragons do when they wake up." Back on Earth, Admiral Choi was in another meeting. This one was different. The people in this room wore different uniforms. They carried special badges. They worked in places that officially didn't exist. "How long?" Admiral Choi asked. 72 hours, said Commander Yu Haiwan. She was the leader of something called the Dragon Corps, though no one outside this room had ever heard of them. "The weapon systems?" "Ready for deployment," said Engineer Shin Woo-seok. "We've been preparing for this day for 3 centuries. Admiral Choi stood up slowly. He was tired, but his voice was strong. "Then it's time. Send the message to all our people. Tell them the dragons are awake." Across human space, in secret bases and hidden facilities, people began to work. Ships that looked like exploration vessels opened hidden weapon bays. Peaceful research stations revealed massive gun turrets. Terraforming equipment was modified for very different purposes. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had been preparing for war, even while they worked for peace. They were about to discover that the sleeping dragons had been sleeping by choice, not by weakness. And now, the choice to sleep was over. Admiral Choi Byung-soo walked through the corridors of Luna Station, humanity's secret military command center hidden on the dark side of Earth's moon. Few people knew this place existed. For 300 years, it had been quietly preparing for a day that everyone hoped would never come. That day had arrived. The station was huge, built deep into the moon's rock. Thousands of people worked here, all sworn to secrecy. They were soldiers, scientists, and engineers who had spent their lives building weapons and ships that the galaxy had never seen. While other humans were farming, teaching, and healing, these people were preparing for war. General Kim Tae-jin met Admiral Choi in the main command room. The room was filled with screens showing human colonies, ship movements, and star maps. Red lights blinked where the Vorthak had attacked. Other lights showed human ships moving into position. "Sir," General Kim said, "all Dragon units are ready. We have 47 ships prepared for the first strike." "The Vorthak won't know what hit them." Admiral Choi nodded. "What about the special weapons?" "Engineer Yu has been working on them all night. The terraforming devices have been converted. The quantum destabilizers are online, and the phase shift drives are ready for combat use." The Admiral smiled, but it was not a happy smile. 300 years of preparation. I always hoped we would never need any of this. Commander Yu Haiwan approached them. She was young, but had trained for this her whole life. Her family had been working on the Dragon Corps project for 5 generations. "Admiral," she said, "Captain Lee's ship is back from New Busan. He's requesting permission to join the strike force." "Give it to him," Admiral Choi said. "He's seen what the Vorthak did. He has the right to help us respond." Captain Lee Daeho stood in the weapon bay of his ship. It looked completely different now. What had seemed like storage areas were actually hidden gun ports. What looked like science equipment were actually targeting systems. His peaceful exploration ship was now a warship that could destroy entire fleets. Dr. Park Mi-young was with him. She had asked to stay on the ship even though it was going into battle. "I'm not a soldier," she said, "but I know more about Vorthak biology than anyone else. If we're going to fight them, you'll need that knowledge." Engineer Shin Woo-seok was busy in the engine room, making final preparations. The ship's regular engines could move them fast through normal space. But the secret engines could do something amazing. They could shift the ship through dimensions, making it appear and disappear like a ghost. "Captain," came a voice over the ship's communication system. "This is Luna Command. You are cleared for Operation Dragon's Wake. Your target is the Vorthak staging area in the Korath system. Show them what happens when they wake sleeping dragons. Captain Lee looked at his crew. They were scared but ready. All hands prepare for phase shift jump. The ship seemed to fold in on itself and then disappeared completely from normal space. To anyone watching, it would look like the ship had simply vanished. But the ship was still there, just moved into a different layer of reality where normal sensors couldn't detect it. The Vorthak Empire had no idea what was coming. War Prime Thekmal sat in his command ship, celebrating the successful attacks on human colonies. The Vorthak were large, strong creatures with thick skin and sharp teeth. They believed that strength was the only thing that mattered in the universe. The humans have done nothing, War Prime Thekmal told his officers. 3 days have passed, and they have only sent messages asking for peace talks. They are even weaker than we thought. His intelligence officer nodded. Our spies report that the Galactic Confederation is putting pressure on humanity to negotiate. The other species don't want a war. Good, the War Prime said. Soon we will take more human worlds. Their technology will belong to us. Their people will serve us or die. The Vorthak had built 3 massive staging areas in empty space. Each one had hundreds of ships and thousands of soldiers. They were preparing for the next wave of attacks on human colonies. They felt completely safe because their sensors showed nothing approaching. Captain Lee's ship appeared right in the middle of the first staging area. One moment there was empty space, and the next moment a human ship was there, already firing weapons the Vorthak had never seen before. The weapons didn't just explode. They changed matter at the smallest level, making Vorthak ships fall apart from the inside. In 30 seconds, the human ship destroyed 20 Vorthak warships and disappeared again. The Vorthak commanders were confused and angry. How had the humans gotten so close? Where had their ship gone? They sent out search patrols but found nothing. 2 hours later, the human ship appeared at the second staging area. This time it stayed longer, methodically destroying ship after ship. Vorthak weapons couldn't hit it because it kept shifting in and out of normal space. When the Vorthak tried to run, the human ship used its terraforming weapons to create a gravity well that trapped them. But the humans didn't just destroy the ships. They did something that terrified the Vorthak even more. They used their matter manipulation technology to reshape the destroyed ships into giant sculptures. The twisted metal spelled out words in the Vorthak language. This is mercy. Next time there will be none. At the third staging area, Captain Lee tried something different. Instead of destroying the ships, his crew used their advanced technology to hack into every Vorthak computer system at once. They downloaded all the military data and then broadcasted a message on every Vorthak communication channel. Dr. Park Mi-young's face appeared on every screen in the Vorthak fleet. She spoke in perfect Vorthak language, which surprised them because humans weren't supposed to know their language. I am Dr. Park Mi-young of the Human Defense Force, she said. My sister lived on New Busan. Her name was Park Soo-jin. She was a teacher. Her children were named Minho and Sora. They were 6 and 8 years old. You killed them. The Vorthak commanders watched in confusion. They didn't understand why this human was telling them about dead people. You attacked our colonies because you thought we were weak, Dr. Park continued. You thought we couldn't fight back. You were wrong. What you have seen today is just the beginning. We have weapons you cannot imagine. We have ships you cannot detect. We have technologies that can reshape entire worlds. The image of Dr. Park was replaced by footage from the destroyed staging areas. The Vorthak watched their own ships being torn apart by impossible weapons. But we are not monsters like you, Dr. Park's voice continued. We are giving you one chance. Leave human space immediately. Return to your own territory. Never attack human civilians again. If you do these things, we will let you live. The message ended with a final image, a dragon opening its eyes. War Prime. Thekmal was furious when he saw the message. How many ships did we lose? He demanded. Over 300, his officer replied. And we never even hit the human ship. Impossible. They only sent 1 ship against 3 staging areas. Sir, our survivors say the human ship could appear and disappear at will. Their weapons destroyed our ships from the inside. And somehow they hacked all our computer systems at the same time. The War Prime slammed his fist on his command chair. Humans are weak. They are prey animals. They cannot have such weapons. But even as he said it, he knew something had changed. For 300 years, Humans had been peaceful. They had never shown any military strength. But now, in one day, a single human ship had destroyed more Vorthak vessels than any enemy had ever managed. On Earth, Admiral Choi received Captain Lee's battle report. The first strike had been a complete success. Not one human had been hurt, and the Vorthak had lost a significant portion of their forward fleet. "What now, sir?" asked General Kim. Admiral Choi looked at the reports from their spy networks. The Vorthak were mobilizing their entire military. Instead of backing down, they were preparing for a full war against humanity. "They didn't take the warning," Admiral Choi said quietly. "They still think they can win." Commander Yu stepped forward. "Sir, should we activate the full Dragon Protocol?" Admiral Choi was quiet for a long time. The Dragon Protocol was humanity's plan for total war. It involved weapons and strategies that would shock the entire galaxy. Once they used it, there would be no going back. Everyone would know that humans were not the peaceful species they had pretended to be. "Yes," he said finally. "Send word to all Dragon units. Full activation. Show the galaxy what sleeping dragons really are." Across human space, secret orders went out. Ships that had been disguised as cargo vessels revealed hidden weapons. Space stations that looked like research facilities opened massive gun ports. And in the deepest laboratories, scientists began preparing humanity's most terrible weapons. The galaxy was about to learn that humans had been playing a very long game. For 3 centuries, they had built a military force unlike anything anyone had ever seen. They had done it quietly, secretly, while appearing to be nothing more than helpful, peaceful people. Now, the mask was coming off. The sleeping dragons were fully awake, and they were very, very angry. War Prime Thekmal stood before the greatest Vorthak war fleet ever assembled. 10,000 ships filled the space around their home system. Each ship carried hundreds of warriors eager for battle. The War Prime had called for a holy war against humanity, declaring them false dragons that must be destroyed completely. "The humans think they can frighten us with tricks and hidden weapons," he roared to his commanders. "But we are Vorthak. We have conquered 100 worlds. We have destroyed countless enemies. These weak creatures will learn what real power looks like." The massive fleet began moving toward human space. Their plan was simple: destroy every human world they could find. Take no prisoners. Show the galaxy that attacking the Vorthak Empire brought only death, but the humans were ready for them. Captain Nam Ju-hyun commanded the experimental warship Soul's Vengeance. His ship looked different from other human vessels. It was larger, more angular, and covered with weapon ports, but its most important feature was invisible, an artificial intelligence system that could learn and adapt faster than any living mind. "Captain," said his tactical officer, "Vorthak fleet detected. They're coming straight for the Harmony system." Captain Nam studied the sensor readings. 10,000 ships. "They're not being subtle about this. Sir, we're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Captain Nam smiled. "Only if you count ships. But they don't know how to count what really matters." The Soul's Vengeance moved to intercept the Vorthak fleet. As it traveled, its AI system analyzed every piece of data about Vorthak ships' weapons and tactics. It studied battle recordings, technical specifications, and even psychological profiles of Vorthak commanders. When the two forces met, the Vorthak expected an easy victory. One human ship against 10,000 should have been over in minutes. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ship seemed to know exactly what the Vorthak would do before they did it. When Vorthak ships fired missiles, the human ship was already somewhere else. When they tried to surround it, the human ship had already moved to attack from an unexpected direction. But the most terrifying thing was how the human ship fought. It didn't just defend itself. It turned the Vorthak weapons against each other. Using precise electromagnetic pulses, it reprogrammed Vorthak missiles to target Vorthak ships. It hacked their communication systems and sent false orders that made their own fleet attack itself. Within 2 hours, the human ship had destroyed an entire battle group without firing a single shot of its own weapons. The Vorthak watched in horror as their own technology turned against them. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Yang So-ra led a squadron of human fighter ships deep into Vorthak territory. Her mission was different from the big battles. She was conducting what humans called psychological warfare. Lieutenant Yang's fighters were small and fast. They could phase shift like the larger ships, appearing and disappearing without warning. But instead of attacking military targets, They did something the Vorthak found even more disturbing. They attacked symbols. On the Vorthak capital world, Yang's squadron appeared above the Great Temple of War. Instead of destroying it, they used their matter manipulation technology to carve words into the stone walls. The words were in the Vorthak language, and they said, "Your gods cannot protect you from awakened dragons." On another world, they found a massive statue of the first Vorthak emperor. They didn't destroy it either. Instead, they changed it. The proud warrior emperor now knelt with his head bowed, and at his feet were carved the names of every human who had died in the colony attacks. But the most frightening attack came when Yang's fighters hacked into every communication system in the Vorthak Empire at once. Suddenly, every screen, every radio, every public announcement system began playing the same thing. Recordings of human children singing lullabies. The children's voices were from New Busan Colony, recorded before the attack. They sang gentle songs about peace and friendship. The Vorthak warriors who heard these voices knew they had killed the children who sang them. "This is psychological warfare," one Vorthak commander reported. "They're trying to make us feel guilty." But War Prime Thekmal was more worried about the tactical implications. How did they hack every system at once? How did they know where our most sacred sites were? How many spies do they have among us? The answer was worse than he imagined. Humans didn't need spies. Their quantum computers could break any code and hack any system in seconds. Their phase shift technology let them appear anywhere without being detected. They had been watching the Vorthak Empire for decades, learning everything about them while remaining completely invisible. Professor Kang Min-ho worked in a laboratory deep inside an asteroid. He was humanity's leading expert on stellar mechanics, and he had been given the most important project of all, developing humanity's ultimate weapon. For months, he had been studying how to weaponize stars themselves. Using humanity's advanced understanding of physics, he had learned how to trigger controlled solar flares and even manipulate stellar collapse. The theory was terrifying. The practical application was even worse. "Are you sure this will work?" asked Admiral Choi, who had come to see the demonstration. Professor Kang nodded grimly. "We've run the calculations 1,000 times. We can make a star explode exactly when and how we want it to. The energy release can be focused and directed. We can turn any star into a weapon with a range of several light years." They had chosen an empty star system for the test. No planets, no life. Just a single yellow star burning alone in space. Professor Kang activated the stellar manipulation device from his laboratory, located safely 50 light years away. The device was small, no bigger than a briefcase. It created a quantum field that could affect matter at the subatomic level across vast distances. When activated, it began changing the nuclear reactions inside the target star. The star began to burn brighter, then brighter still. Within an hour, it was shining with 10 times its normal intensity. Then, exactly as planned, it exploded in a controlled nova that could be seen from halfway across the galaxy. But this wasn't just a random explosion. The nova burst was shaped and directed. Professor Kang had turned the star into a spotlight, sending a message in the form of focused stellar radiation. The message traveled through space at the speed of light, and when it reached inhabited systems, it appeared as writing in the sky. The message was simple. Humans can destroy stars. End this war now. The demonstration sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Every species with the technology to detect it saw the impossible. A star had been turned into a weapon. The energy readings showed that humans could now destroy entire solar systems if they chose to. On the Vorthak command ship, War Prime Thekmal stared at the sensor readings in disbelief. "This is impossible," he whispered. "No one can control a star." His science officer's voice shook as he spoke. "Sir, the energy patterns are clear. The humans somehow triggered a controlled stellar collapse. They turned the star into a directed energy weapon. How many humans were killed in the explosion?" "None, sir. The star was uninhabited. They did this as a demonstration." The War Prime felt something he had never experienced before. True fear. The humans had just proven they could destroy entire worlds without even sending ships. They could make stars explode from thousands of light years away. "Sir," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." Captain Nam Ju-hyun's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Vorthak ships burned in space. "War Prime Thekmal," he said calmly. I am Captain Nam Ju-hyun of the Human Defense Force. I believe you've seen our demonstration. The War Prime tried to look strong, but his voice betrayed his fear. You cannot threaten the entire galaxy with such weapons. We're not threatening the galaxy, Captain Nam replied. We're threatening you. You started this war by murdering our civilians. You continued it by refusing our offer of mercy. Now you will learn what humans do to those who hurt their children. The screen changed to show tactical displays. Human ships were appearing throughout Vortex space, always in impossible numbers. Somehow, the humans had deployed thousands of ships without anyone detecting them. Your empire has 47 inhabited worlds, Captain Nam continued. We are currently in position to destroy the star of each system. We will give you one final chance. Surrender unconditionally, or we will turn every Vortex sun into a weapon. War Prime. Thekmol looked around his command bridge. His officers were staring at him, waiting for orders. For the first time in his life, he didn't know what to say. The humans had done the impossible. They had gone from peaceful explorers to the most dangerous military force in the galaxy in just a few weeks. They had weapons that could destroy stars, ships that could appear from nowhere, and technology that made their own seem primitive. How long do we have to decide? The War Prime asked. You have 24 hours, Captain Nam said. After that, we begin turning your sons into weapons. The dragons are fully awake now, War Prime, and they are very, very angry. The transmission ended, leaving the Vorthak command staff in silence. Outside their ship, they could see human vessels appearing and disappearing like ghosts, each one carrying weapons that could destroy entire fleets. For the first time in their history, the mighty Vorthak Empire faced an enemy they could not defeat. The news of humanity's stellar weapons spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. In the great halls of the Galactic Confederation, emergency sessions were called. Species that had lived together in peace for centuries suddenly found themselves choosing sides in a conflict none of them had expected. Ambassador Lee Soo-jin stood before the Confederation Assembly once again, but the mood was very different from her last visit. Then she had been asking for help. Now she was explaining why humanity had the right to defend itself with weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Many of you are afraid, she said, looking at the thousands of alien representatives. You see what humanity can do, and you worry that we might use these weapons against you. Let me be very clear. We will not attack anyone who does not attack us first. The Melody Federation representative stood up. The Melody were beautiful creatures that looked like living crystals. They had always been seen as peaceful and wise. Ambassador Lee, the Melody said, your people have shown they can destroy stars. How can anyone feel safe with such power in the hands of one species? Ambassador Lee's expression hardened. Where was this concern for safety when the Vorthak murdered 2.3 million human civilians? Where was this worry about power when they destroyed our colonies? You were silent then. The Kef Consortium representative also stood. The Kef were tall, thin beings with multiple arms. They had always claimed to be neutral in galactic conflicts. The human weapons are too dangerous, the Kef said. No species should have the power to destroy stars. And yet, Ambassador Lee replied, you said nothing when the Vorthak had the power to destroy entire colonies. You only worry about power when humans have it. Captain Park Young-soo was far from the political debates. His deep space reconnaissance fleet had been busy gathering intelligence from captured Vorthak ships. What they found made him call Admiral Choi immediately. Sir, Captain Park said over the secure communication link, you need to see this data. The attack on our colonies wasn't just a Vorthak operation. Admiral Choi frowned. What do you mean? The Vorthak ships had navigation data that could only have come from other species. Someone gave them detailed maps of our colony locations, defense systems, and population centers. They knew exactly where to hit for maximum damage. The Admiral's face went pale. Who? The data signatures match Melody crystalline computers and Kef navigation systems. Sir, our friends in the Confederation helped plan the attack on our civilians. The evidence was overwhelming. For months before the attack, the supposedly peaceful Melody Federation and the neutral Kef Consortium had been secretly providing intelligence to the Vorthak. They had given detailed information about human colonies, including the locations of schools, hospitals, and residential areas. The reason was simple. They wanted human territory. Earth's colonies were on worlds with valuable resources and strategic locations. The Melody and Kef had planned to divide human space between them after the Vorthak destroyed humanity's ability to defend itself. They had seen humans as weak prey, just like the Vorthak had. They never expected humanity to fight back so effectively. Admiral Choi called another emergency meeting on Luna Station. This time the mood was different. Before they had been responding to an attack. Now they were dealing with a conspiracy. How many species were involved? Asked General Kim Tae-jin. At least 5, replied the intelligence officer. The Melody, the Kef, the Bernari clans, the Theknari who claimed to support us but were actually spying, and probably others we haven't identified yet. Commander Yu Hai-wan leaned forward. Sir, what are your orders? Admiral Choi was quiet for a long time. Then he spoke slowly and clearly. We respond to all threats against humanity. The Vorthak were just the weapon. These other species were the ones who aimed it at our children. Colonel Oh Eun-ji led the human ground forces that landed on Vorthak-occupied worlds. Her mission was to show the galaxy what human soldiers could do when they stopped pretending to be peaceful. On the ice world of Korath 7, Vorthak forces had built a massive fortress. They thought the frozen wasteland would protect them. Colonel Oh's forces arrived during the planet's winter storm season, when the temperature dropped to -80 degrees and winds reached 300 kilometers per hour. Instead of waiting for better weather, the humans used it as a weapon. They deployed atmospheric processors that turned the natural storms into focused hurricanes. The Vorthak fortress was buried under 50 meters of ice in 6 hours. On the desert world of Veltar, the Vorthak had hidden their command center deep underground. Human engineers used their terraforming technology to create artificial earthquakes that brought the entire facility to the surface. Then they used atmospheric manipulation to create sandstorms that lasted for months, trapping the Vorthak forces in a world of endless, blinding dust. But the most impressive display came on the jungle world of Kythera. The Vorthak had an entire army hidden in the dense forest. Colonel Oh's forces didn't attack them directly. Instead, they introduced modified earth plants that grew incredibly fast and changed the chemical composition of the air. Within days, the jungle became uninhabitable for Vorthak, but perfectly safe for humans. The Vorthak soldiers had to surrender or suffocate. Most chose to surrender. The galaxy watched these battles with growing concern. Human ground forces didn't just win fights. They changed entire worlds to help them win. They could make ice planets into frozen wastelands, desert planets into endless storms, and jungle planets into poison environments. They were proving that humans didn't just have advanced technology. They had the knowledge and creativity to use their environment as a weapon in ways no other species had ever imagined. The Galactic Confederation split into 3 groups. The first group supported humanity's right to defend itself. They included species that had been helped by humans in the past and understood that the attacks on human colonies were unprovoked. The second group wanted to contain human military power. They were afraid that humans were becoming too dangerous and might use their weapons against other species. This group included the Melody, the Kef, and their secret allies. The third group tried to stay neutral, but they were becoming smaller as more species were forced to choose sides. The Theknari Republic was the first to openly support humanity. Commander Velthara, their military leader, sent a message to Admiral Choi. The Theknari people stand with humanity. We offer our ships and soldiers to help you defend against all who would harm your people. But the most surprising support came from an unexpected source. The Christine Collective, an ancient species that rarely involved itself in galactic politics, sent an elder to meet with human leaders. Elder Quartz's heart was thousands of years old and had seen the rise and fall of many civilizations. She spoke to Admiral Choi in person, her crystalline body glowing with inner light. For millennia, she said, species have come and gone in this galaxy. Most destroy themselves with war and hatred. But humans are different. You have spent centuries helping others, healing wounds and solving problems. Even now, in your anger, you show restraint. You could destroy your enemies completely, but you offer them chances to surrender. Admiral Choi bowed respectfully. We try to be better than those who attack us. That is why we support you, Elder Quartz's heart replied. The galaxy needs protectors, not conquerors. Your people have proven you can be trusted with great power. The support of the Christine Collective was important because they were known for their wisdom and neutrality. When they chose a side, other species paid attention, but not everyone was convinced. The Containment Coalition, led by the Melody and Kef, began building their own military alliance. They claimed they were protecting the galaxy from human aggression, but their real goal was to stop humanity from discovering their role in the colony attacks. Ambassador Li Sujin found herself in an impossible position. She was trying to maintain diplomatic relations while evidence mounted that some of humanity's supposed allies had helped plan the murder of human civilians. In a closed session with only the original Confederation founding members, she presented the evidence. Ships went silent as the alien representatives saw proof of the conspiracy. "This changes everything," whispered the Velkaran delegate. "If the Melody and Kef were part of the attacks on human civilians, then humanity's response is not aggression. It is justice." The political situation became more complex by the day. War was spreading beyond just humanity and the Vorthak. Species were choosing sides based on old alliances, new fears, and their own secret plans. Captain Park Young-soo's reconnaissance ships continued gathering intelligence. Each new discovery made the conspiracy larger and more shocking. The attack on human colonies had been planned for over 2 years, with at least 7 species involved in various ways. "Admiral," Captain Park reported, "it wasn't just about taking our territory. They were testing to see if humans really were as weak as they appeared. If we had responded with only diplomatic protests, they were planning to divide all of human space among themselves." Admiral Choi realized that humanity was facing more than just the Vorthak Empire. They were facing a conspiracy that included some of their oldest friends. The galaxy's power structure was about to change forever, and humans were at the center of it all. War Prime Thekmal stood in his command center, surrounded by the ruins of his empire's greatest fleet. In desperation, he made a decision that would shock the entire galaxy. If the Vorthak could not have victory, then no one would survive. "Activate the biological weapons," he ordered his science officers. "Target the human homeworld itself. If Earth burns, then at least we will be remembered as the ones who destroyed humanity's heart." The Vorthak had spent decades developing biological weapons designed to kill specific species. Their Earth killer virus was meant to destroy all life on humanity's homeworld within days. It would be released by stealth ships that could slip past planetary defenses. War Prime Thekmal sent a message across all galactic communication channels. "Attention, Galaxy. The Vorthak Empire makes this final declaration. If we cannot have victory over the false dragons, then let all burn. The human homeworld will become a monument to our defiance. Their precious Earth will die, and with it the memory of human weakness disguised as strength." The message reached human command within minutes. Admiral Choi read it with cold fury, while General Kim and Commander Yu prepared immediate responses. "How long until their bioweapon ships reach Earth?" Admiral Choi asked. 18 hours, replied the tactical officer. "But sir, we've detected the weapon type. Dr. Han has been working on countermeasures." Dr. Han Ye-jin was humanity's leading expert on biological defense. She had spent her career preparing for exactly this type of attack. When the Vorthak threat became clear, she had already begun developing responses to their known biological weapons. "The good news," Dr. Han reported, "is that I can neutralize their bioweapon completely. The bad news is that I've also created something else. A computer virus that targets Vorthak technology itself." Admiral Choi raised an eyebrow. "Explain." "Their biological weapon works by attacking specific genetic patterns. I've reversed the process. My virus attacks the quantum signatures of Vorthak technology. Every ship, every weapon, every computer system they have will begin failing simultaneously." "How widespread?" Dr. Han's smile was cold. "Every piece of Vorthak technology in the galaxy, all at once." Fleet Admiral Bae Jung-woo had been preparing for this moment his entire career. He was humanity's greatest military strategist. And now he commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled. 5,000 ships, each equipped with humanity's most advanced weapons, prepared for the final assault. But this fleet was different from anything the galaxy had ever seen. These were not just warships. They were mobile platforms for humanity's most advanced technology. They could reshape matter, manipulate time and space, and coordinate attacks across multiple dimensions simultaneously. "All ships," Fleet Admiral Bae announced over the fleet communication system. "This is not just a military operation. This is a statement to the galaxy about what happens when someone threatens Earth. We are not conquerors. We are protectors." But today we will show the universe that there are some lines that must never be crossed. Captain Song Min-jun commanded the assault fleet tasked with taking the Vorthak homeworld. His ships used phase shift technology to appear directly in the planet's orbital space, bypassing all defenses. The Vorthak homeworld was heavily fortified. Massive orbital weapons platforms surrounded it. Millions of soldiers protected its surface. It had never been conquered in the species' long history. It fell in 72 hours. The human attack was unlike anything in military history. Instead of destroying the planet's defenses, they turned them off. Dr. Han's technology virus infected every Vorthak system simultaneously. Weapons stopped working. Ships lost power. Communication systems went silent. But the humans didn't just shut down Vorthak technology. They took control of it. Vorthak orbital platforms began firing on each other under human control. Their own defense systems became weapons against them. Captain Song's ground forces landed on the planet's surface with no resistance. The Vorthak soldiers' weapons wouldn't fire. Their vehicles wouldn't start. Their communication equipment was broadcasting human music instead of military orders. War Prime Thekmol was captured in his own command bunker, surrounded by computers that displayed pictures of the human children who had died in the colony attacks. He tried to activate his personal weapon, but it had been reprogrammed to project holograms of flowers instead of firing shots. The trial of War Prime Thekmol was broadcast across the galaxy. It took place on the Vorthak homeworld, in their own Supreme Court building. Human judges, lawyers, and soldiers filled the room where Vorthak law had been made for centuries. Fleet Admiral Bei Jung-woo served as the chief prosecutor. He presented evidence of war crimes, genocide, and attacks on civilian populations. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. War Prime Thekmol, defiant to the end, stood before the tribunal and delivered his final speech. "You call us monsters," he said, his voice still strong despite his defeat. "But look what you have become. You have destroyed our empire in days. You have weapons that can kill stars. You have turned our own technology against us. You are not the peaceful species you pretended to be. You are monsters wearing masks of kindness." Fleet Admiral Bei stood to respond. His words became legendary, repeated in history books across the galaxy for centuries afterward. "We are not monsters," he said quietly. "We are dragons. And we had been sleeping because we chose to sleep, not because we were weak. You attacked our children, our families, our innocence. You mistook our choice for peace as inability to wage war. Now you know the difference," he paused, looking directly at the War Prime. "We could have been your greatest allies. We offered friendship, knowledge, and help to anyone who needed it. Instead, you chose to make us your greatest threat. You woke sleeping dragons, and now you must face the consequences." The trial ended with War Prime Thekmol and his commanders being sentenced to life imprisonment. The Vorthak Empire was completely dismantled. Their military was disbanded, their territory redistributed among the species they had conquered, and their leadership banned from holding any political power. But the greater change was in the galaxy itself. The conspiracy that had helped the Vorthak was fully exposed. The Melody Federation and Kef Consortium faced economic sanctions and political isolation. Several of their leaders were tried as war criminals for their role in planning the attacks on human civilians. The Galactic Confederation was restructured with humanity, taking a leadership role in galactic security. New treaties were signed that recognized every species' right to defend itself, with whatever means necessary. Most importantly, humanity established the Dragon Doctrine. This new galactic law stated that any attack on civilian populations would be met with overwhelming and disproportionate response. The galaxy learned that there was a difference between sleeping dragons and dead ones. The doctrine was tested only once. A minor empire called the Skull Hegemony attempted to conquer a peaceful farming world. Within 6 hours, human ships appeared in their capital system. The Skull leadership was given a simple choice: withdraw immediately and pay reparations, or face the full fury of awakened dragons. They withdrew. 3 years after the war ended, Admiral Lee Daeho stood on the observation deck of Human Deep Space Command, the new station that served as humanity's military headquarters. It orbited an artificial star that humans had created using their stellar manipulation technology. Through the massive windows, he watched ships from dozens of species pass by. All of them flew flags showing respect to humanity. Some carried trade goods. Others brought diplomatic messages. A few were pilgrimage ships carrying aliens who wanted to see the homeworld of the species that had changed the galaxy forever. Dr. Park Mi-young joined him at the window. She now served as humanity's chief diplomat, working to maintain the peace that had been built on the foundation of demonstrated strength. "Do you ever wonder what would have happened if we had stayed asleep?" she asked. Admiral Lee was quiet for a moment. "Every day," he said finally. "We gained the galaxy's respect and fear, but we lost something too. Our innocence, our belief that good intentions were enough to keep us safe. Was it worth it?" Admiral Lee looked at a memorial wall that listed the names of everyone who had died in the Vorthak attacks. 2.3 million names, including Dr. Park's sister and nephew. "Ask me in 100 years, he said, when we see what kind of galaxy we've built with our new power." The truth was that humanity had fundamentally changed. They were no longer the peaceful explorers who had first joined the Galactic Confederation. They were now the galaxy's protectors, its enforcers, its sleeping dragons who could wake at any moment. Other species brought their problems to humanity now. When conflicts arose, they asked for human mediation, knowing that human decisions would be backed by overwhelming force. When diseases spread, they begged for human medicine. When their worlds needed protection, they requested human ships. Humanity had become what they had never wanted to be, the dominant military power in the galaxy. But they used that power carefully, always remembering the cost of the war that had awakened them. Captain Song Min-jun, now promoted to Admiral, established the Dragon Corps Academy on Luna Station. Young humans from across the galaxy came to learn not just how to fight, but when to fight and when to show mercy. Power without wisdom is destruction, he taught his students.